Greetings and welcome to Hexed Encountered. I'm Joe. In this video, we will be doing a first look at the second game of Tanktoberfest 2024. This is Desert Heat, second edition. This is from the Nations at War series published by Lock and Load Publishing. So I'll keep this relatively short because I know some of you don't like the first looks, but I did want to show you the components of the game here. So you get your dice, of course. We have you have activation cards, as well as chits, which was the original version. The new version uses cards for activation, so you pull a card, and if whatever unit is on there, that's what gets activated. And then we have the deck of cards. So you can see this is another activation card here, and it's got all the information about the HQ on the back. And we'll get into the specifics of this when we do gameplay. Now, I have played this game series before for my platoon level tactical series, so it probably is familiar to some of you, and some of you I'm sure have actually played it. So here are the core rules wrapped in a bag. So we'll pull these out. Now they also come with a couple of player aid cards here with the turn record track, casualty boxes for both sides, and then your fate points. Again, this will be stuff that I'll explain during playthrough. Formation cards and counters, and the cost of things you can get with your fate points. And we have another player aid card. This one is two-sided. You got your rules reference right here, which is very useful. And on the other side, you have more rules reference. Again, this is all very useful. It gives you the high points in a bulleted format, and it also gives you the location of the set of the rules that are described here in the rule book. All right, so let's take a look at the rules. It's a nice book. It's bound, so it's not flimsy at all. High quality, nice thick cover. You got your table of contents here. And they're extensive. The game itself is not all that complicated, but the rules are pretty extensive. There are a lot of little things in here, but everything's well described, as we'll see, and also a lot of illustrations, a lot. So here you have your counter details. I've heard some people don't like the counters for this game because they're very busy. You know, you've got a lot of numbers and symbols and so forth on here, right? If we take a little bit of a closer look here at our counters for units, you can see, the helmet would indicate infantry, but you also have the symbol there from motorized infantry. You have armored infantry here, regular infantry, and then these would be like your fire ratings, movement, and assault, and all that stuff. And we'll see that in the rules themselves. But as you can see, there's a lot on each counter, and the counters are, if your eyesight's not great, they might be a little bit difficult to read in some cases. So, and again, it's very extensive, so you've got all the possibilities here. You got notes, a page for notes you can take, introduction, how to use the manual, general concepts, right? Dice, the NATO symbology, your counters. And then you've got definitions, right? So you have, how you know if it's a full strength unit, reduced strength, that's the colored bars here. Their AP firepower, right? So that's their anti-tank stuff. Then you've got your HE firepower, which is for soft targets. The ground attack firepower for an aircraft. Any aircraft firepower for a ground-based anti-aircraft unit. The 2-hit number. The range, now these are zoomed in, of course. So you have your 2-hit number, that's what you need to roll to actually hit. This is the range, normal range of the weapon. Units that have an underlined range cannot fire farther than the underlined range and do not have range adjustments. So there are range adjustments based on the distance. You can do twice this distance at extended range, but it costs in effectiveness. Again, we'll go into all of this when we do the gameplay. You have a save number, so you can negate hits, basically. Morale, your leadership modifier for these are HQ units, as you can see, they say HQ on them. And then you have your command range, movement factor and type, assault factor, augmented factor. Plus signs are enhancements to the unit's ability. We'll see that again when we do the gameplay. And attached unit. Unit types, so you have soft target, hard target, etc. I don't want to get too much in depth here, but you can see the rules are, there's illustrations of every counter, basically, every counter type. Here are markers, right? How do you set up the game? Your different phases, right? Operations, marker removal, formation impulse, unit formation, marker removal, checking command status, rallying, firing, operations, movement, stacking limits, loading and unloading and transporting, of course, with examples, lots of examples, combat, how combat works, extended, reduced, and limited range, conducting a mortar attack, acquisition, opportunity fire, assault combat, overrun combat, line of sight, defensive measures, mines, wire, anti-tank ditches, smoke, battlefield chaos, and fate points. This is like the twist that the system applies. Here's your fate point table that we saw on the card. Additional rules, and some optional stuff. Leaders, engineers, pioneers, and sappers, bridge demolition, Overwatch, map updates. So the maps for White Star Rising and Desert Heat first edition have been updated in the second edition, and it tells you what maps have been updated. Scenario details, how the scenarios are explained, and we'll see that in the next little booklet here. The battle generator, so you could create your own battles. There are extensive rules for this as well. So this is why it's so long. Here's series resources. They have their own video boot camp, so you can watch videos that show you how to play the game, which is very useful. There's Vassal. There's the compendium, which I have, and I'd like to do something with that sometime, but I haven't gotten around to it yet. Your formation cards. Then again, you've got some of the stuff that you'll see. Terrain effect charts for all the different games. White Star Rising, Desert Heat, and Stalin's Triumph. I've done videos on Stalin's Triumph. I don't think I've done anything with White Star Rising except for the PC version. The counter terrain effects chart. Rules references, which is in that card as well. And then we have index at the back here. Pretty extensive index. And then your starter kit scenarios so that you can actually play a little bit. You've got map here. And then our credits and some of the other games that are available. These would all be lock and load tactical system. And that's the core rules. So what else do we get? We got the module and scenario booklet. So we will be playing something from here. I have not yet decided what that might be, but it will be something featuring tanks. You can see your scenario layout. I won't go too in depth here because we're going to play the game, and I'll show the appropriate one at that point. Here we have some tanks, 7 Italian M1340s. We've got the 7th Royal Tank Regiment with 6 Valentines. There's some Mark IVs, some Crusaders, etc. So this one could be something we would perhaps play, and it's using maps 11 and 14. So there's a lot of scenarios in here. And if you get the compendium, there's even more. Here's the counter tech that we saw in the rule book, with the Desert Heat tech on the other side, terrain effects chart that is. Here's the chaos table. That's just single-sided. Counters, we got a little quarter sheet here. Or maybe I'd say that's a quarter sheet. And there's 5 sheets of counters, if I can grab them all here. So here are our counter sheets. So these are markers, of course, as you can see. Very nice. The counters in this game are beautiful. They're rounded. They're fairly large. They are 2-sided. And you can see the markers: out of command, improved positions, mines, all that stuff. So those are markers. And we have some units here. So you have designated formations, and then you have more markers for concealment. And then we have some units here. So these would be French. And we have Americans here. You can see We have a Rommel counter here. These are Germans. Lieutenant Schaefer. There's a leader for the French. Then we've got some American units. You've got Stuarts and Lees, as well as infantry, of course, engineers, etc., etc. And you can see here the stripes, right? If you flip it over, the stripes are a different color on the back, although these are mounted. So that's a little bit different because they're half tracks on the other side. Here we have some British units. There's the Matilda, the Valentine. And then we have the Italians down here. So you have Italians. And there's some mortars. There's some light tanks, etc., right? Along with some more guns here for the British, as well as Lieutenant Cole. And then the final one, these are our Germans. So you have a lot of Germans on here, of course. And you can see some Tigers, Panzer III J right there. Yeah, lots of tanks, Panzer IIs, some anti-tank guns, famous 88. Some Panzer IVs, some mortars, flak guns, mortars, a Stuka. So all kinds of stuff here. 5 counter sheets, and they cover basically all 5 nations that took part in the campaign, being the Germans, the Italians, the French, Americans, and the British. Now let's look at our maps, of which there are 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we have some player aid cards for the battle generator. We'll look at these real quick. So what these will give you is a cost. So this is the Italian forces, and you can see you can buy an M1340 for 23 points. You get a certain number of points, and you use that to build your forces. So you get a nice little picture of the Italians there. Of course, you have the Germans, you get the same thing. Then you have the Americans and the British, and I don't think they have the French in here. And then, of course, we have map 13, we have map 12, we have map 11, and we have map 14, right? So if we start with 11, I'll just unfold it so you can see, right? These are geomorphic, so you can put them in various combinations. They connect to each other, etc. You can see some of the terrain. It's very nicely detailed. You got a nice little town there, Bleda. Some orchard, it looks like, some rough. And we have number 12 with another town, La Senya. We got some elevation. Number 13. This one has no town. It does have a series of ridges and hills. And some rough terrain, of course, some road or tracks, paths. We're not a lot of paved roads in this campaign. And then we have our 14, which actually has a water feature on it, and another town, Tebessa. So there you have the 4 maps that come with the game, and of course they go in a variety of configurations. And the numbers, as you would expect, kind of align with the numbers from the other games. Just like most tactical systems, that's kind of how that works. So as I put this back, I'm going to wrap this up. I thank you for watching. We will have some playthroughs of this game pretty soon. That is the plan. This is the second game. I plan on doing at least one more, maybe more. I might mix in a little PC stuff, because I do have PC games that also have North African scenarios or themes. And I'll put this in here in our rule book, our dice, our cards, our additional card. We'll leave the bags out and we'll put the cover back on. So that is a look at Desert Heat. We will be playing this soon, as I said. So that will do for this one. I appreciate you guys watching. If you have any questions or anything, please feel free to post them. And that's going to do it. I'm Joe. This is the Hexed Encounter channel, and it is Tanktoberfest. And until next time, happy gaming.